Welcome to Hardfire. I'm Ronald Wieck. We're doing the first of a two-part show on 9/11 conspiracy theories. If you've followed along with us over the past year and a half, you know we've explored several aspects of the events of 9/11. I think you'll find tonight's show and the following one somewhat unusual. My guests are Alexander Ace Baker. Ace is a studio musician. He has, to his credit, the television shows October Road and Melrose Place. He's also a first-time director, and this is his DVD, 9/11, Great American Psy Opera. My second guest is Steve Wright, who's a major figure in the feature film and video industries. He has written 2 books, Digital Compositing for Film and Video, and Compositing Visual Effects, Essentials for Aspiring Artists. He has a long list of credits, feature films, and commercials. Now, tonight is an unusual show. These are hard times for the 9/11 truth movement, that rather dotty collection of, some would say, paranoiacs and fantasists. In the last few days, Ayman al-Zawahiri, the number 2 man of al-Qaeda, has lashed out against Iran because he feels that the Iranians are seeking to steal the thunder from al-Qaeda. The Iranians are claiming that the Israelis and Americans conspired in the events of 9/11, and Zawahiri is understandably irate that the great victory his organization achieved is being stolen. Now, this puts your typical truther in a bit of a box. We had a fellow on the James Randi Educational Forum the other day who simply short-circuited. He decided that, well, al-Qaeda is defending Israel. Now, this is the sort of statement that I think should not be refuted. I think it should stand in isolated splendor. There's really very little to say. I will venture one thought that a person who feels that al-Qaeda is defending Israel, in his heart of hearts, in his mind, believes that he has never been wrong about anything in his entire life, that he has never lost an argument even once. Now, my guest, Ace Baker, tonight is going to make an unusual case. He is going to argue that all the videos of Flight 175 striking the South Tower are faked. He feels that this is the conspiracy we should be looking at, not the more well-known ones. He feels that we've been led to believe that a historic event that's embedded in many of our consciousness just didn't happen. And he's going to do something unusual for a member of the truth movement. He is going to present actual evidence and try to show us what it means. Now, we've certainly heard many of the claims. We have people coming on talking about demolitions, and they don't have the slightest idea what a demolition professional actually does. Ace is going to show us things, not merely talk about them. We are going to ask Stephen Wright to lend his expertise to this project, and he's going to comment on the evidence that Ace presents. One hopes that it will be an illuminating evening, and that we'll learn something, if not about 9/11, then about the business of video fakery, what can be done and what can't be done. Ace, I'd like to start with you. If you just tell me briefly, before we get into the substance here, you're a fine musician, I'm sure. What got you interested in video analysis? What led you to it?
Well, I have loved video fakery for a long time. 20 years ago or more, I was making chroma key music videos. That's where you stand in front of a blue or a green screen and you can combine different images and composite them together. So I've always been interested, and I've always learned a lot of things by doing. I've learned a lot about the technology of music by operating the software. And the kind of technology that we're going to be talking about, video compositing, although it's capable of many, many great things. We see feature films that have amazing effects that are created through digital fakery. on 9/11, the techniques were actually quite tried and true, very simple and very easy to understand for anyone. And I think after I show how it was done, it's going to be easy for your audience to understand exactly how it was done.
Okay, a brief word from Steve. You are the magician. Is it magic, or can we hope to understand it if we're laymen?
Well, I have 20 years of experience at fooling people with fake imagery. So today I'm going to show how fake imagery could not possibly explain the videos that Ace will be presenting. And the reason I wanted to do this was because this was a very interesting puzzle. That's the reason I got into visual effects in the first place. It's a challenge artistically and technically. So tonight we're focusing on the technology. And by understanding enough about the process, you can see where the claims are false.
Fine. Well, without further ado, I think you'd rather hear from these gentlemen than from me. I'll turn it over to Ace. Where would you like to begin? Your first claim.
Well, first, Ron, thanks for having me on. I just want to say peace. That is definitely what it's all about. 9/11 truth will lead to peace, and I think no planes is the solution to 9/11. And I would urge all of the truth movement to look into no planes.
Ace, I don't mean to sidetrack you, but I want you to defend yourself in advance, because I know from my own dealings with people in the truth movement, there's a schism, and you are going to be accused of various things. You're going to be accused of being a disinfo agent.
Right. Let's not get into that. Let's get with the evidence.
We'll save that for the next show, perhaps.
The number one piece of evidence that everybody needs to look at if you want to understand 9/11 is the Chopper 5 video. Now, this was shot by WNYW Television of New York, and it was broadcast live over most, if not all, of the Fox network, but it was never replayed again. And if you know about television news and how they will replay and beat to death dramatic footage of history's defining moments, this right away raises a red flag. And so I went looking at this Chopper 5 video. I was fortunate enough to get a copy of, to see what it is that they don't want us to see. And it turns out there's plenty in this video that they don't want us to see. So if we can go to video now, and I'm going to roll first, I'm going to actually just roll the footage the way it was originally broadcast on WNYW.
Hoboken, that as you look at the picture from our chopper now arriving at the scene, Jim Friedel in Hoboken said it appeared to bank sharply and smash directly, perhaps purposefully, into, oh my goodness,
Oh God,
there's another one.
Now, the first thing that we notice is that there's no plane in the wide shot. And we begin with this big wide angle shot, and it holds for over 5 seconds, and there's no airplane in it. So the question is, should the airplane be in that shot? And the answer is going to be yes, it should. And here's how I figured that out. Here's frame 407, where the plane enters the picture, and here's frame 423. So we see that the plane travels this distance, indicated by that arrow, over those 16 frames. So we know that by multiplying those 16 frames out, we can figure out where it would be 406 frames earlier, which is, or 416 frames earlier, which is frame 7. So here's frame number 7, and I've zoomed in on it. And then I take the later frame, frame 423, and I adjust the scales to match, so that, and then I will take that distance arrow and copy it out the correct number of times. I think it's 26 times. And so we know that the airplane ought to be here in the wide shot, and it is not there. Now, you know, maybe my calculations are a little bit off. Maybe the plane is just outside the screen, so we'll run the video forward here for a full 5 seconds, which is about frame 170. That is over 10 times the length of that red arrow. So by now, the plane ought to be right here, and it simply is not. It's not anywhere to be seen. And so the very first thing that needs to be addressed is, where's the plane in that wide shot? And I can tell you I've done studies of my own from a similar distance. I know the distance that chopper was away, and you absolutely can see airplanes from that distance zoomed out. So where's the plane?
All right, Steve.
sure. Let me cable up here.